Weatherproofing is all about keeping you comfortable in your home. Did you know the heating and cooling you pay for can escape through gaps around exterior doors, windows, light switches, and electrical outlets?
Even outlets? Wow, I didn't realize that. So how do I prevent those from leaking?
It's so easy. Just pop in an insulated outlet or light switch cover.
Some solid advice.
Within 30 days, I probably went to juvenile. At my peak, probably 15 to 20 times.
Wow.
Like, so, I get out 2-3 days, go back in. Get out 2-3 days. I got arrested so much, like the officers will pull up and, hey, John, just put it down and come on. Don't make us chase you. So, and I'd be like, you know you finna have to chase me, right?
With your personality, though, it sounds like it was almost friendly.
I mean, until you got pepper spray for that first time, that was not friendly. That was not friendly fire when you get pepper spray.
Hi, I'm Rick.
I'm Mary Beth. We're in Memphis, a city rich in history but plagued with poverty. One of the country's poorest zip codes is steps away from world-famous Beale Street, and you can find mansions just down the street from abandoned houses.
We take those throwaway houses and turn them into homes.
For people returning from prison in the hopes of building a better life. We know something about second chances. We met in a tiny East Tennessee town when we were 13, and I was crazy about it.
First time I saw Mary Beth, I knew that she was the girl for me. Problem was, I was shy.
Until 40 years later. And in between all that, we had kids, we had marriages.
I had prison, and now we want to help other people that have made mistakes. Some people flip houses.
We flip lives.
Morning.
How you doing, Chris?
Must be Monday. Had a plan.
You see the thing's not here?
The day starts with a new crew's arrival and a snafu familiar to anyone who's ever taken on a home remodel. The Bobcat we rented has broken down.
He just called me about 10 minutes ago and said it's going to be about another hour. I'm like, oh man, I'm so sorry.
The plot thickens.
I can't stand the construction stuff. This is driving me crazy.
I
Like
can't
either
either.
the weather
I'm
messes
gonna- I
up,
thought I was
the
retired.
dumpsters not. You're retired only from income. We get so behind.
We do, but you know, that's the life of a contractor.
That doesn't help.
No, I know, but that's what you do. I'm used to working by myself and just going and finishing a job, but I'm coming in out of town depending on other people that have other jobs working. So,
Wait a minute, you're telling somebody it's not about me?
well,
That's not okay.
yeah, I know.
That is not okay. So while we wait, we pivot indoors. Chris Taylor is a crew supervisor with the nonprofit Center for Employment Opportunities. CEO hires formerly incarcerated citizens and trains them in various construction and landscaping skills.
And then we've got, I'm gonna put, to make all this level, I'm gonna put 3/8 plywood over the whole thing. Is that something, you got a crew that can do that, willing to do it, or who do we need to talk to?
Honestly, they're always willing. They want to know how to do every bit of construction, home renovation, carpentry, electric, whatever they can learn. They're ready and willing.
My specialty is building decks. I made a good living building decks up in Knoxville. You'll stay busy. I stayed busy for 35 years building decks. I was sometimes booked out a year in advance.
Of course, that success was part of your downfall.
Yeah, business was great. And, you know, I was booked up for a year, remodeling my house. Daughter was in college. I was spending money like wildfire, thinking it'd always be there.
So when people needed their money back,
And that's when I robbed a bank. I needed the money now. Get cash now. How's that sound?
I think that's a commercial.
I think it is. I took it to heart.
But not the right way,
Right.
unfortunately.
Now to tell you something, when the economy went bad, all that money I gave away back to the people, I robbed a bank. So that's why I'm doing this, okay? I'm just not a very good bank robber. I'm a better deck builder. So the story is, don't rob banks. Be a dick.
Rick is not the norm. Most crimes in America are committed by people younger than 25. Way too many start far younger than that. 11?
14, 13.
The first real trouble was probably about 15, about to be 16. I was in this environment that everybody claimed to be the toughest, the baddest. I'm short with a light voice, so I gotta go in and really like set the tone, like I'm not to be messed with. So me and my big cousin, we ended up committing a robbery, of course. They ended up sending me to a place called Wilder. I got placed on a dorm between 17 and 20-year-olds. So that first go-round didn't really teach me nothing, but don't make as many mistakes to get caught.
Like it was crime college? Is it as simple as saying, how do we expect a 17 or an 18-year-old, even one who's from the best circumstances, to make a smart decision? Why do we expect that?
I don't, but I follow the science. They don't have a brain. We've talked about this. They don't have a brain.
Not until they're in their
25,
mid-20s.
26.
It's almost as though they're indoctrinated with this idea that they are a product of their environment and this is all that they can be, and there's such low expectations for them to do different that they just kind of fall in line, and they don't realize or have had anybody sit down and talk to them and say, hey, you can do something different.
At least probably 80% of my family, probably before the age of 20, done been incarcerated. If somebody would have handed me a job application as opposed to handing me some weed or a gun, I would have took that route. But they didn't. They handed me a gun or some drugs and say, go out and get it how you supposed to get it. Right. They didn't say, hey, go fill out a job application, go show these folks you want to work.
When you get in, they gonna do you like this, Troy. He gonna do you like this.
Back at the house, the Bobcat finally arrives and the CEO crew is eager to try it out. It's clear not everyone paid close attention to the instructor.
Ain't ever playing video games can't handle this joystick. This is gonna take a lot of editing, but it's gonna look like I know what I'm doing.
As the CEO crew takes over the outside work, Rick installs the posts he built earlier for the new front porch. Building your own can save you hundreds.
I'm taking 4 2x8 by 10 Southern Pine boards. I'm not using treated here. Some areas you do. This you don't. There again, it's going to be stained or painted. As you can see, I've got a 2x8 right there. It glues right here.
Okay.
Then it comes down and it glues right here. And these boards, as you can see on each level, it's glued all the way down. So it makes a perfect square.
And then you screw it?
Glue it and screw it.
Is that a professional contractor's term?
The old pappy said, glue it and screw it.
Okay.
It's up. Well, I guess I made it up, and I'm a professional
So what's the
contractor.
advantage to doing it this way? It's a little bit more
The
work.
advantage is it took me about 30 minutes to do this, and the cost was about 1/3 to 1/4 of what you would do if you went and bought a manufactured post, and they're basically doing the same thing.
Okay.
Oh, hell! That's how professionals do it. What's fun is later on you get to peel this off like we were back in elementary school.
Near the end of a long day, contractor Antonio Abram stops by to give the guys some motivation. He wants to encourage them to develop skills that lead them to business ownership, not just a job.
I threw newspaper in the mornings from 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock. Came home and showered, got the kids ready for school. Then I went to my day job. And that was roofing houses.
And that is tough.
That's, if anybody know anything about being up on top of that roof out there, at 10 o'clock in the day carrying shingles.
Sun radiating off the
And I even got good at it. I could carry 2 bundles at one time up that ladder.
Up the ladder.
Up the ladder.
Ooh, yeah, you
Yeah.
You're gonna have to work your butts off.
Yeah.
But is it worth it in the end?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Meanwhile, up the street at Memphis Allies,
He couldn't take it no more, so.
Marcus was one of the Lifeline crew that helped us so much with demolition. Great guy, big smile, really committed to being a good dad. We just found out he got into an argument with family, so he's been kicked out. Now homeless, he's moving to Missouri to live with another family member. But that means he's hours away from his children.
So you're just staying engaged with him, right? And checking up on him day to day or whatever.
We need to make sure we keep that contact with him, knowing exactly when he's going to come back and what are we going to be able to do to assist him with making sure he has housing and not have to worry about that.
What is it that we need to do now, you know? And Eric comes with some great solutions to some of those.
So that another one's not lost.
You begin to mirror those things that happened to you as a child.
Shelby County Commissioner Charlie Caswell started the nonprofit Legacy of Legends to focus on the kind of lifelong trauma that often contributes to crime. His work springs from his own childhood that included witnessing 2 murders before age 15.
Facing as a teenager right here on this street, one of my friends that was shot down by another friend. And just over a block over, witnessed the next year, another friend shot in the head.
So did you literally see later in life this episode over and over play like a movie in your mind?
Yeah, all the time. And we wouldn't have no psychiatrist, so I started smoking marijuana to just numb that what I would often experience.
How did it come out in your later life?
I smiled in the public face, but behind the closed doors, you see the rage. My wife may come in and say, hey baby, you're gonna wash the dishes today. And it triggered me because my mother at 10 and 12 years old took a extension cord and whooped me out of bed to wash the dishes. And so now I'm yelling at her for a simple ask, right? But because I'm really triggered by what happened to me as a child.
My father wasn't really there. You know, my father sold drugs. He put his hands on my mother, so I seen a lot of abuse in the back of the days.
Marcus was a teenager the first time he got in trouble. And guess what landed him there?
Fighting every day, getting kicked out of school, arguing with my kid's mother, arguing with my mother. Had got an aggravated assault, domestic assault, had a gun on me, and I don't want to be like that, you know. My kids, I don't want my kids to see me out here doing this, doing that, or treating their mother wrong, so I'm trying to be on a positive road now, you know.
There's a second period of development, around 11, 13 in most kids, as puberty is approaching, and it's happening earlier and earlier, as you know. Just before the brain signals, I'm done developing, whatever I've got, I've got. Whatever I've learned. Your brain as a child can actually be rewired so that normal things no longer feel normal.
Like what?
Like feeling that someone's going to harm you. You get hypervigilant, and so you're always looking for harm. And in some cases, your response to that is to harm others first.
A lack of empathy?
It could be lack of empathy, lack of respect. You know the stories that you hear in the news about the kid said, well, I don't care. What the kid is really saying is, no one has ever cared about me. So why would I care about anybody else?
Our cookie changed lives, actually, you know, because it changed mine. So it's more than just a cookie.
10 years ago, juvenile court referred a hard-headed John Young to JIF. It's an intervention program that uses love and grace to break the cycle of crime. JIF focuses solely on teenagers.
I ain't gonna lie to you, when I first got the JIF, I didn't like it at all. I ain't gonna lie to you, I was like, this is just another program they gonna throw me in, throw a bunch of rules at me, tell me do this, do that, and drop me back off in the hood and think that's supposed to help anything. Like, I'm here for 2 hours and I gotta go back to the hood for the other 22, like, so. And I'm finna get checked cause y'all pulling up in this big purple van, picking me up. So at first it was like I wasn't receptive to JIF cause I was like, it's another program, it's just some people that just trying to fill some numbers, get some money, get some grant money, like, they really don't care about what I'm going through.
What made it change for you?
The mentors. This is what let me know that these folks really cared about me and what I had going on, not only in my personal life, but me as a whole. Our house ended up burning down when we was in Fraser. It was probably about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I ended up calling my mentor. He got up 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. If somebody don't care about you, they not getting up out they sleep, drive halfway across town to come make sure you okay. So at that point, I was like, okay, it's real. They care. Because the way to earn trust in the hood, you gotta go out there and do something. And you gotta be side by side with a person. So once I seen that, I started opening up.
And then he met JIF volunteer Lauren Young. Raised in a prominent Memphis family whose patriarch founded Holiday Inns, she began volunteering to find a way out of her own trauma.
I was almost 8 months pregnant, and 3 young boys were delivering their groceries up the stairs because I was not supposed to be holding anything heavy at the time. And unfortunately, 3 young men came by the car, and we said hello, but they walked on, and one chose to come back and steal the car. So unfortunately, I was carjacked that day out of that parking lot, and had a lot of panic and fear around that moment.
Why do you think you turned that moment of fear? You had to be a little angry, panic, into helping.
Definitely because of my faith. I think, you have to drive out fear with love. It was also, okay, not just that I'd become a victim, but I think that the young boys in that space have been victims for a lot longer than I have been. And I really believe that my one incident that rattled my entire world has been something that they've been wrestling with a lot in their life.
Childhood trauma. She realized the kids needed skills, so she expanded her home-based cookie business by developing a cooking program, renting kitchen space at JIF, and hiring participants like John.
This is one of my favorite pictures of us because we look like we're ready to take on the world together.
10 years later, John is kitchen manager at Sweet Lala's, Lauren's bakery and coffee shop in a swanky East Memphis shopping center.
But it's about a whole lot more than just cookies, isn't it?
Exactly. Oh, no, our cookie tell a story. Our cookie come attached with a story.
The story of JIF's success with young offenders can be written with one letter. The second F in the name stands for follow-up, because moving from streets to citizen is a long process, filled with pressures many of us know nothing about.
When I was transitioning, it was some people that was checking, and it was some that was like, why you going that way? It was hard being the only person that's working a job, trying to go hang out with everybody that's on the streets, knowing in the next 5-10 minutes the police may pull up and we may all have to run, and I may get caught up in some stuff that have nothing to do with me.
Right, but because you're in the group, just hanging out with the people you're going to be swept up.
Accepted. When you going through that transition, that support system is more important than anything. That's where JIF came in, because them days while I was thinking about going out committing a crime, I had people that would say, look, set small goals. Okay, if you get 10, I get the other 10, and we'll go get your hair cut. A lot of times they ask the question like, who are you? I answer the same way. I'm John. What you mean?
Volunteer Beverly Shelley was part of the JIF support system. Ironically, it was the murder of her husband by 3 boys about John's age that brought her there. She's a reminder that for every John, there are dozens more who fall through the cracks.
It was really, really gut-wrenching, but...
And yet you turned your anger around.
I just was so curious, like, how could this have happened? I just wanted to find forgiveness because I knew if I held on to that hate, it would just destroy my life. In wanting to make sense of it, I wanted my husband's life to make a difference, and I thought maybe this is the catalyst for change.
Your children are about the same age as the individuals who
Yes.
killed their father.
It is, I haven't thought about that in a while, but it is.
You're the kind of parent every child deserves.
Right. And when you have kids running the streets and don't have someone at home who's looking after them, or, but who knows what the parent circumstances are as well. It's so heart-wrenching that so many of these children, they're in homes where it's like there's really no adult present who seems to care.
Did anybody ever tell you they're proud of you?
The first time I can honestly probably say I heard it was when I was dealing with JIF, like on a consistent basis. Like,
And
hey,
you were how old at that?
Good job. About 18, about to be 19.
It's unimaginable to me, and probably to you, that any child grows up without hearing that.
Yeah, for sure. If you don't feel worth, then you do, act worthless. The work at JIF really educated me that these kids who were cycling through juvenile court were on a path to a future of this crime or death. And so when you'd ask kids in the JIF program, what's your future look like? most of them would say I'll probably be dead in 5 years. And they seemed comfortable with it. It seemed like they didn't have a future to plan for.
What did we expect would happen when we gave so little to their good development? What did we think was going to happen when these kids, as they grew, had less and less empathy, less and less respect? I don't make excuses for the behavior. I try to explain how we got there.
At Sweet Lala's, his big personality and easy laugh has earned John the title Dr. Sprinkles. The happy nickname is not always enough to overcome regrets when he thinks about his mother, who died 11 years ago.
She didn't get the chance to see me grow up to become Dr. Sprinkles, or to see we done so many TV interviews, or when people come in, like I got 30, 40-year-old men, hey, Dr. Sprinkles, you know, half of the people in the script know me. Like, she didn't get the chance to see me fully become who she knew I could become.
So that makes you
and
sad.
That's what makes me sad, but like I say, I take that and use it as fuel, because that's the reason I go so hard for my little sisters. I want to be able to go back and get the next group of kids that's struggling, can't find themselves, don't know how to get the process started, and say, hey, I was you 5, 6 years ago, 10 years ago. You know, don't let the lack of facial hair fool you. You know, I was you. I was you 14, 15, just wanting to fit in, just wanting to be loved, you know, because a lot of times we come from an environment where it ain't no love there. It's all about rough and rugged and who can be the biggest and the baddest and the toughest.
And if you're not, you get beat up, right?
Exactly, or you get shunned, and nobody want to be the outcast. So a lot of times, nobody, it took me a long time to stop being the follower and being confident enough to be the leader. This is who I am. Okay, this is who I'm meant to be. Like when that question get asked now, who are you? Oh, I'm a provider, I'm a leader, I'm a man. I'm more concerned about, not to sound corny, but the sweet side of life, you know? Yeah. It's to make sure my little sister and them got what they need. She going into her 12th grade year this year to make sure I get her across the finish line. So that's the stuff that makes me happy now.
I got here yesterday. So I said, I better not get too close. So police came out.
Coming up on Flip My Life, visits by Memphis cops.
We could just create like a pathway that goes around this tree.
And a group of architecture students. It's got some leaf mold. Plus, Mary Beth brings home her first curb pick.
Seriously, that would be beautiful. The stress.
You got a lot of sanding to do.
And
I just didn't want to go to prison. I didn't want to say I did something when I didn't do it just to save my life.
What happens when the system goes totally wrong?
I felt that I was going to be free. I knew I was going to go home.
Don't miss the next episode of Flip My Life, sponsored in part by the Tennessee Valley Authority.